Hey, it's Debbie Zoyce, and I'm excited to be here with Albie Vas today. I'm talking about kind of the market, and Albie is really unique in the fact that your business comes from relationships. I mean, that's your world, and I've watched you over the years kind of hone and grow those relationships. And tell us kind of how you do that, because a lot of agents are going out looking for leads all the time. They're buying leads, they're doing stuff, but you don't do any of that.
No, absolutely. So it started early on when I came to Keller Williams. You know, my productivity coach asked me, he said, "What are you doing with Facebook?" And I said, "I really don't do anything with Facebook." And this is 2008 and 9. So she told me that, hey, maybe we should reach out to other agents. I said, well, I don't want to really interact with agents here in Vegas. She goes, no, I'm talking about across the United States, maybe even globally. So then started talking to other agents, and now that's part of my business. So I don't cold call, I know I should, but I actually call other agents. And during the pandemic, that was probably the biggest thing that helped me survive during that time, because I would call other agents and see what they were doing, how to deal with the market, and then I learned from them, and then I was able to give that information to the other agents that I called as well. So I came with value.
Love it. It's kind of unique, because I know when I go somewhere with you, if we're in the same venue and there's 4,000 or 16,000 people or something, and you see me, I'll get a, hey, and then you're on your way, because you're not going to get any business from me, right? You're going to go find the people that are going to send you business. And so I think you're very purposeful that way, but you're also very relationship connected with your clients. Talk about that too, because that's part of the market, right?
No, absolutely. So I don't know what the stats are, but they're really, really low, where a client would reuse the same agent they purchased or sold with if the agent would have reached out to them.
And that's 87% of the time they use
really
the same agent if the agent stayed in touch.
So sometimes I fall into that spot and I'm like, hey, I haven't reached out to them. And then really funny is like I really stay in complete contact with everyone who buys a new home, and I do a lot of new homes, new builds. And so being purposeful last year, because we're like, all right, where do we need to drum up business? And that's where I really started hitting them. And I started sending out unsolicited CMAs. Current market analysis of their property without being solicited. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that's what my house worked out to. Be able to drum up some business that way as well. And then it gets you in contact. You say, hey, I'm not trying to, say, hey, use me, but at least it's something that be able to contact them and come from value.
That was a nice touch. Let me ask you, because now we've got lawsuits and all these things happening. How do you think that's going to impact agents? How is it going to affect you, and how is it going to affect other agents?
That's a very, very loaded question. So there's a lot of things that appeal under that. But, I'm one of those agents, I look at it and I'm like, this is going to change how we do business. And for most people, like, oh, this is absolutely not going to. I think they're not plugged in. And the reason being is the way we're going to do business, there are going to be agents out there who are going to take advantage of this. Oh, we're going to do it this way. And I'm not know if I'm allowed to talk numbers or how how
you
those things are.
You can talk whatever you want, Albie.
So they'll look more deeper into it. I kind of feel like I'll put you in this scenario as like, all right, so let's say they're not, because you were always able to pay a buyer's agent or not, and then on the other side too, you were always able to charge whatever you need to charge to get the services done. I feel that once we go into that part, let's say there isn't a co-op on there, and then you have your buyer broker agreement with your client, let's call it 2%, it's a number 2. So we've got 2%, and then there's like, oh, okay, you could always add that onto your offer, right? So we'll just change it, hey, I need 2% for closing, then I need 2% for my buyer's agent, submit it to into the seller, and then on a counter, this is where I feel the problem is going to be, and it's the problem that I really see is, we'll give you 2%. You just got to figure it out yourself. Is it going to be for closing costs, or is it going to be for the buyer's agent? And then to put on top of that, let's say the buyer doesn't have really enough money to actually pay, and they need that 2%. So now that buyer may not be able to buy their dream house next to their mom because they still needed that 2%, and that agent still needed to be paid. This is where it ends, where other people don't think past that part. So I think realistically after that, if I'm the buyer and my agent couldn't get it done, I'm probably going to sever my ties, because I don't want to go through that emotional roller coaster again about buying another property, and I may not be able to get it. So that's my thoughts on it. So most people don't talk about that part, but I think it's that end game where they sever that broker agreement, because they feel like, hey, there might be something wrong where it's not going to work out. But that's my only concern on that part.
So what I hear you saying, Albie, is that who you choose to represent you is really going to matter, right?
Yeah, correct.
Because you're going to want someone that can articulate the value and someone that can actually go and deliver on what they're setting out to do. And probably there's agents out there right now that are more of order takers that
No, absolutely.
that aren't going to be able to do that, where you've got the relationships and the experience to be able to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Like yesterday, we had our red day yesterday. I had to leave early to go show houses, and we put one under contract, and they already had multiple offers, but I called the agent and I said, hey, what do you need? And she goes, what does the seller need in order for us to win this? And she goes, we just need to be flexible with the date. I told my client, they just need to be flexible. I said, all right, we'll put this date, and if you need to, we'll be able to put an addendum together and change the date, because the client, the seller, is in military and they're in another country, so they'll be moving back. So that's, we were able to win it on that.
Wow. So you didn't have to pay $20,000 over appraisal or give up their firstborn or any of those kinds of things. You
absolutely.
just needed to be flexible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you knew how to negotiate.
Absolutely. And then I said, hey, is the list price good? And we looked on the back end, the list price is a good value, and determined it was a win-win. So that's the way we went. So it was just flexible on the dates.
Love it.